So I've entitled this Big Data, The Next Frontier. My role in QualiTest as a consultancy partner is to advise our clients and prospective clients on what they should be thinking about around testing and quality. So thinking about this around big data. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a refresher on what is big data, some of the terminology and some of the dimensions around big data. So let's look at the Gartner. Gartner are very keen on big data. They seem to be putting out reports quite frequently on this. So this is their description of it. So big data refers to the volume, variety and velocity, these 3 V's that you hear a lot about when big data comes around, of structured and unstructured data pouring through networks into processors and storage devices, along with the conversion of such data into business advice for enterprises. So it's a very sort of business commercial focus that they've put on that, which is quite interesting. Yeah. But I think we've seen that actually there's a lot more going on out there with big data than just stuff for business. So I just want to touch on that a little bit as well. I mean, think about what we're talking about in big data. We've got a sort of continuum of data that we have from Shakespeare down here, which is something like about, I don't know, about 5 megabytes or something like that, very lowish sort of level here. And then you've got films, which are coming up to the sort of gigabyte level for storing that. And then we've got these academic libraries here. So academic libraries, about 2 terabytes, yeah, will give you roughly an entire US academic library. Yeah. Petabytes will give you all academic libraries. Yeah. Okay. And then we go, the number of words spoken by all human beings ever is sort of 2 exabytes. Yeah, it's the next one up. And we're currently, data in the world, an approximation clearly, probably a bit short of 3, and I don't know whether it's zettabytes or zettabytes, but being British, I'm going to say zettabytes, all right, okay, of data in the world. So there is a heck of a lot of this stuff being created. And where is that coming from? So I thought this is a great little graphic that was put together by Domo.com, who is like a BI people, and it talks about what happens in the data creation every minute of that day, and what happens across the web and the connectivity of everything across the web in a day. So there's really interesting stats there, like, you know, there are 571 new websites created every minute of the day. You know, Apple receives about 47,000 app download requests every day. For me, I think there's a really interesting bit in here around what that data actually contains. Yeah. So if you just take a few of these, if you take, say, maybe email, Facebook, which is a good one to take, and there's a commercial spend one here, $272,000 spent every day on web commerce, on e-commerce. There's quite a bit of personal data in those particular areas. Yeah. Now, in my email, what have I got? Well, I've got my email address. Yeah, it's a minimum, clearly. It's come from me. It's got my email address. What's in your email, though? So, well, in my email, actually, I've got probably my phone number, my company's phone number. I might have fax numbers still, if such things still exist out there in the big wide world. Yeah, and I may have something that takes you to my LinkedIn profile. Yeah, so there's quite a lot of information just even in the email, giving away my private data, which I'm passing, you know, just chucking it out there. And there are hundreds, you know, my inbox, I'm sure your inbox too is deluged with stuff. So there's all this stuff being moved around. And I don't really know who's looking at that, who's going through that data, what's being done with it. Okay, and spend. So if I'm spending some money, what data am I letting go out there into the web? Well, I'm going to be my name and my address, because it's got to go send my goods somewhere, perhaps. Yeah, I'm going to have credit card details, bank details. Yeah. And of course, more powerfully, what I've bought. Yeah, what did I spend my money on? What have I been spending my money on? So if you look at the people who've done really well in that space, I was talking to people earlier about Tesco's and Clubcard and how successful that has been in terms of them working out what you like and being able to come up with things that you would like. So there's a lot of personal information being given away in there. So we are the big creators of big data. There's concern there about where my data's going and who's looking at it and what it's doing. So everyone is now talking about this, aren't they? Just before we came over here, we were talking about the fact that the whole brand of big data itself is a big commercial proposition. So McKinsey, as you can imagine here, with their report on big data, stole the title "Next Frontier" from that paper. Yeah, this is business for them. It's really something that they can get their teeth into and sell services to you off the back of. So that's really quite interesting. And you've got the economists talking about the numbers, as one might if you were an economist. You want to crunching the numbers, how we actually process all that data. And I quite like this one from Financial Times here. With big data comes big responsibility. Of course, there is a flip side to that crime. So we, of course, as perhaps law-abiding citizens, might be keen on the fact that police are preventing punch-ups and things happening in our local areas and so on. But as the Skype's CISO was saying, there are drawbacks with big data. Yeah, the police can use it for good, but criminals can use it for bad. And of course, as he says, they've been using big data a lot longer than security firms. So are they ahead of the game? Yeah. Okay, so why are we in business and particularly in IT interested in it? Well, McKinsey again here saying, well, if you were a retailer and you were using big data to the full, you could increase your operating margins by up to 60%, which is quite a big claim. That's a huge amount of money that one could make on there. So there's a lot of opportunity there. The second one here is saying that bad data or poor data quality costs US businesses $600 billion annually, which is a colossal sum of money. This bad data, poor quality data, I think is going to be a big issue for us. So in the world of quality assurance and testing, there feels like there should be a role in here for this. And according to Gartner, big data will drive $232 billion in spending through to end of 2016. So there's a whole lot of money out there that they think is going to be generated by the use of big data. By 2015, 4.4 million IT jobs globally will be created to support big data, generating 1.9 million IT jobs in the US. So let's just return to a little bit about the data and the privacy angle. So first of all, I'll pose these questions. What does it mean to me? So first of all, what data is being kept about me? Well, I thought I'd just have a look at one app on my phone to see what that app was collecting, and this is Dropbox's privacy policy. Just talking about logging data, and I just looked at that bit. So it says, when you use a service, we automatically record data from your device. Well, we sort of expect that, but what are you doing? So this may include the IP address, the browser type you're using, okay, the web page you visited before you came to our website. Information you search for on our website, yeah, fair enough. Okay, your locale preferences, interesting, yeah. Identification numbers associated with your devices, okay, your mobile carrier, okay, date and time stamps associated with transactions, system configuration information, and metadata concerning your files, and other interactions with the service. So just on that one app, there's an awful lot of data being collected about me on there that they could be accessing. And what are they doing with that data? This one I really like is, where is my data being stored? Yeah. So if you're a startup company and you're trying to do something with big data, where are you going to hold it? You're not going to be on servers in your own premises, tucked around the back, is it? It's going to be up in the cloud somewhere. And where is that? Yeah. So if you are passing it into another geography, and let's use the US, because chances are probably is over in the US, at least some of it. Okay. So so the contents of that stuff and what it means in that country's legal framework, does that apply, or does our legal framework apply? Next one, of course, is who's looking at my data, who can see my data. There's been so much of this recently, this year, actually, on what information is government here in the UK or in the US. What are we actually, what are they asking for? What are they looking at? And I think I really do like this one as the best. Now, Kyle set up this business to do like filming of local sports events and things, and so he was taking all that footage and he was then selling all that footage on and this, that and the other, and he had the entire content of this stuff up in the cloud, this, that and the other, and along with lots of other people. It was a huge enterprise, so everyone was using this thing, and authorities looked at what other types of information were being held in that service, not him, but in that service, and they said, we don't like that, so we are closing the site down. So suddenly his entire livelihood, business livelihood, went down the pan. So what does it mean to your organisation? Some 64% of organisations worldwide are investing or planning to invest in big data technology, so that's quite a big percentage of all organisations as a whole, yeah? But less than 8% have actually rolled out such initiatives. And getting a bit closer to home in terms of the technical side, the actual technical landscape for big data is pretty big, yeah? You've got technologies, and things like this around here, particularly handling all the data, yeah? You've got structured databases that we've probably got internally about our customer information already, so we've got all our oracles and Sybases and all this sort of stuff in there. We've got the operational infrastructure that we need to hold all that. There's applications that do very specific and particular things. We've got analytics and visualization in there. So as a tester, I quite like that, yeah, because all those have got little boxes around them, and little boxes means there are interfaces between things. If there are interfaces between things, there's a great opportunity to test stuff and make sure it works. So, yeah. But, of course, I'm probably expecting my guys to know more about all the technologies that underlie this to actually be able to play well in this field. Yeah. So what about specifically the role of QA and testing? So looking at all the things that I've gone through here, what is our role of QA and testing? Well, there is a sort of nuts and boltsy feel about some of this that doesn't necessarily feel like it's big data, but it's still going to apply. Yeah, and that is things like, how good is my existing data before I try and bring some more of this data in? Yeah, it's the cleanliness of the data that's coming in, yeah, through the stream of imports that I'm getting. So quite a few customers have got data warehouse stuff going. I'm sure some of you have out there. They might have, 4, 5, 6 streams of data coming in from different suppliers with different information. But if we're talking about picking up a lot more information about people in order to give them personalised offerings, we're probably going to buy more data streams in. It's going to get more complicated. There's going to be more stuff coming in. So the cleanliness of that data is going to be quite important. And of course, if I'm trying to marry stuff up, yeah, I've got data in my database already, I've got a data stream coming in, I need to marry that up to make sure I've got the right person tied up with the right person, or the right person going into the right demographic grouping or geographical area. There's going to be a whole set of matching rules that there are going to be in there in order for that to happen. I think as a tester, that's going to be something pretty interesting for us to be able to check out. Yeah? And of course, there's there's a lot of extraction, transformation and loading going on in here. So the transformation rules about how do I map this data to that data and so on, and is that all working properly? So if I'm making decisions about what somebody has done, purchased, bought, yeah, behaved, yeah, and I'm buying that information in as a stream, the timeliness of that, when did they do that? Would they still be interested in it? What have they done since then? All of those things are really interesting. So there's an angle on there, I think, feels to me there is anyway, where we're saying, is the data that we're buying in, bringing in valuable? And I think that the role of the tester could be a lot wider than we traditionally had in that space. So this area, I think, is something where we can add some more value with the testing and the quality assurance mindset. Yeah, we want to make sure that some of these features in our systems are present and also working. Are we allowing people to opt in or opt out to the way in which their data is being used? Yeah. Can I say, yeah, you can use this bit of my data, but you can't use that other part of the data? Are we providing people with that choice in the system? And that's good questions to ask at the beginning of a project before we start doing something. Yeah. Have we made the clarity of intention of use of that data obvious to our users? How are we going to use that data? What are we going to do with it? Make it more explicit. It is all very hidden away at the moment, particularly, isn't it? Terms and conditions of use, do you accept them, is that the other? Yes. The feeling here is that people are going to twig to the vulnerability of this data and the use of their personal data and want to know more about it. I might want to look back into my supply chain. What is my supply chain for this data? Where is it all coming from? And have they asked the right questions? And would they like to say so in the contractual documentation that we're putting together for them? Yeah? Because I don't want the responsibility if somebody says, hey, I gave that guy this data and I've just had an email from these guys over here and they can only have known that if they got that from over there. And then I think this is this great thing between individual data and de-identification of data. We need to be careful that we have checks in place to make sure that if it is individual data, that we are protecting that data, yeah? That the privacy of that data is being assured, yeah? Okay. But I need individual data because I want to personalise my offering, yeah? So I need to be able to do that. On the other hand, I might want to push that data out and sell it to somebody else with my customer's permission, yeah? In which case I need to de-identify that data, so have I done that properly? And finally, I've got validating assumptions. I think if testers are good at anything, they're good at asking that question, yes, but what if? Of course, there's a lot of data out there about software itself and how software operates and how it might be, where it might fail. And we tend to try and we do this sort of stuff. We're trying to make sure that, you know, we try and detect as many defects as possible early in a life cycle. It's a pretty standard thing that we want to achieve for our clients. So it gets the cost of detection down, causes less delays, keeps project costs down and so on. We don't get all that late life cycle expensive fix stuff. But it would be better if we could go a step further, yeah, and be able to know where it's likely to fail based on the software itself and how it's being constructed, the type of software it is. And, you know, there's some interesting work going on at universities in the UK around trying to provide information about where software might be vulnerable, which would help take us back perhaps even earlier in the life cycle. And if we combine that with traditional things like root cause analysis on defects and so on, that might help us produce better software in the first place and allow testing to add even more value.